Hey, how's it going? We're back at the podcast studios here in Marble Falls, 103.9.
With Ben Sheets.
With Ben Shields, our producer. So if the mics are off, it's not our fault. We've got some new light today. I don't know if it's going to be any better, but it might be. Anyway, so here we are. We're glad to see you, and hopefully you subscribe to our podcast. Why? I don't know. I don't know why you subscribe, but you just do. You hit the little thing that says bing and bing, and that's what you do.
Well, they do it because we're funny.
Oh, is that we're funny?
Yeah.
Anyway, so
And we have good personality.
yeah, we've got a good personality. This is Kimberly. Kimberly,
I have
right?
a dash in my name.
Say hello, Kimberly.
Hello, Kimberly.
We've heard that Kimberly fidgets a lot, so whoever told her that, no, bad.
I'm fidgeting now.
Yes, and then this is George. Say hi, George.
Hey, hi, George.
George is the music man.
Okay.
Anyway, when I first moved here, I moved here from Nevada in 1981, and I had to get a driver's license. So I went down to, I think it was in Llano at the time. So I went to Llano, and I didn't pass the test. So I was frustrated. So we looked at the next place, and we drove all the way to Marble Falls. I think it was Marble Falls at that time. And then the same day I went over there, and I didn't pass the test. Anyway, so we looked for the next DMV, and it was in Austin. So we drove all the way to Austin. It took me 4 trips to go to 4 different DMVs, but I finally got it. And ever since then,
How old were you?
dude, I was probably 20-something. And my wife was like, why don't you read the manual? I don't need to read the manual. And then at the last one, I thought I better read the manual. So I did, passed it. It's hilarious. So anyway, that's my little funny story. So whoever that's for.
Well, I didn't pass all of the parallel parking. And let me tell you, this is so embarrassing, but it's not. It's just truth. So I never had a driver's license, like ever, until the one I got now. Yeah. So I didn't have the parent that was going to buy me a car or taught me how to be responsible and go get a job and buy my own car. I didn't even have a way to get to a job if I ever got one, because my mom hardly had a car sometimes. So I grew up in my youth without it, and then later on in my adult life, whenever I was in a relationship and like just, my daughter's dad, he drove the car. He had the car. So, and then, obviously I went to prison and I was there for a long time. And so whenever I came out, the first time I ever took a driving test, the first time I ever took anything, I did it on my own at 20. Hell, no, not even 20. I was 35 when I got out.
Wow.
35 years old, first time ever to have my own car that I paid for and a driving test, the driver's license.
Congratulations.
That's really funny.
When I was younger, they used to have it in school where it was like a class. You could take it in class.
Yeah.
Right, the driving test. And then so it was easy to pass. So you had the only nervous wracking part was when you had the guy from the Texas Department of DPS guy. You had the DPS guy sitting there making you nervous.
Right.
But then when you transfer states, I had to get it. I had to have the guy. No, I just had to do the written test. Just couldn't pass it. But then when you get older, you don't have to take it again.
Yeah.
You just have to
Renew or
They just
something,
want
right?
your money.
You just go in there and give them some money and take a picture. And one time recently, I took a picture, and my picture was so bad that I said, the next time I get my driver's license, I'm going to make sure my picture's good. So I went in there, and I had my hair all fine. It was fine. I was looking good.
Okay.
I mean, I was looking really good. Like, they were looking at my life and said, wow. No, they weren't saying that. Yeah, they weren't saying that. They were saying, oh, you make my heart pitter patter, which is funny because I heard somebody say that to me this week. I'm like, whoa. Anyway, whole different story. So I got my picture taken, and then a month later, they called me back and said, something happened with the camera. You got to come in and get your picture taken again. And I just showed up after work. My hair was all tweaked, so it
man.
didn't do me any good anyway.
Well, you're not meant to be a Vogue model.
Yeah, you're right. Thanks, Kim. Thanks. I'm not meant to be that. Yes.
You're meant for better.
Yeah,
than that.
it's okay. It's okay. So last week we were talking about the blind guy, and you know what? After I thought about it for a while, and I'm not saying that the guy didn't have a bad attitude, because he may have, but he may have had a great attitude. But I don't know because I wasn't there. But for me, so many times in my gig, I always go negative, and almost everybody does. It's hard to go positive all the time. It seems like every time we have a thought, we have something going, we always go to the negative side. I don't have any idea why, but it seems like we always do. And then it seems like if somebody's always positive, they get on my nerves. Have you ever
It's
had that
called
before?
toxic positivity.
Is it
That's an actual thing.
It is?
And oh yeah, especially in education, there can be people that you just want to avoid because they are so happy and smiling, and you're like, it's Monday, and don't sugarcoat Monday.
Haven't had my
Yeah.
coffee
You
yet.
know? Yeah, that whole Happy Monday stuff.
Well, I don't really mind Mondays, but yeah. So I was at Office Depot, and a guy comes up and he's just like, he's super nice to me, like all the time. And I would see him at church or see him at other places. He's always nice to me. And finally, I had enough of it. I said, dude, you don't have to be nice to me like this all the time. You don't have to do it like that. He's like, what do you mean? I said, yeah, you can just kind of cut through the stuff, right? Because and come to find out, maybe he was just like that, but it was annoying. I know.
I wonder
It
if
shouldn't be annoying, but it was annoying.
I wonder if people think like that about me, because I'm always like, hi, good morning. Hi, good evening.
Why does it always got to go back against about you?
Because
Nobody's
I'm
thought
just
that.
saying. I'm just wondering.
Oh, the reason why we brought that up is because we were trying to say it was about you without saying it was
You're
about
trying
you.
to say I'm annoying?
No, I'm not
'Cause I'm
trying to say
bubbly?
that at all. No, we're going to have to
That's it.
cut
I'm
that
done
out
with
too.
this podcast.
Yeah, that's crazy. So anyway, it seems like I always seem to go negative on some of the stories here, right? And you know, I don't know why, but then I was thinking maybe the guy who was born blind, he was probably Jewish. He probably knew his Torah. He probably knew his Bible, not his Bible, but the Torah. He probably, you know, I don't know if they had Braille or somebody else was helping him to memorize it. Or maybe, I'm sure he had some sort of education. Maybe not.
Maybe
I
he
don't
grew
know.
up hearing the scripture.
Maybe heard the scripture, and maybe he just had big faith, right? Because you never hear that story like the guy has big faith. Like maybe maybe he's just like, even though he was a beggar, doesn't mean that he still can't have big faith. Just because he was blind doesn't mean he can't have big faith. Maybe his whole life he was like, one of these days God's going to heal me. God's going to do something for me. And then the day comes where it actually happens. Right? And then he goes down to the pool of Siloam and he washes and he can see. And then we just like, he can see. And you know what? There's got to be some more happiness about that. It doesn't really say it in the Bible, but that whole thing could be a story in itself about how he could see the clouds, how he could see the trees, how he could see the sky, how he could see the people, how he could see the dirt, how he could see the pool, how he could see all sorts of stuff, and how happy he must have been. And maybe he had big faith to where he knew God was going to do something miraculous in his life, but it just took a long time. And we never look at it that way. And right now, the guy, and he's probably at the pool of Siloam doing the happy dance.
Maybe.
Get it?
Yeah. What's
Maybe
the
he's
happy
doing the
dance
happy
look
dance.
like?
I don't know what the happy dance is like, but we're going to put it in here. Right? Right? Cut. Boom. Happy dance right there. But you know what? If you couldn't see, if you were blind, and now all of a sudden you could see, and then all the things that people were talking about, they started to make sense, the different colors, because how would you know what color was? You had to have been extremely happy.
Yeah.
You would have had to been doing a dance. You would have had to been you would have been so happy, you would have been annoying people. Look at the color of your eyes. Look at the color of your hair. Look at the color of this. Like everybody's like, I know, but I couldn't see 15 minutes ago. He could have been absolutely obnoxious in his excitement of being able to see. Yes?
Yeah.
Sure.
No right,
Right.
but yes.
Yes.
So then in the story, the neighbors see him. And I'm just thinking to myself, when's the last time that we've had something so exciting happen that we were just extremely, like nothing else mattered? Like we were doing the happy dance. Right now, I know that I can do the happy dance. I go to prison and cheer people up. But you know what? Like when you were saved, you know what? It made a difference in your life and you knew it. And then some time goes by and it seems to kind of, your salvation has a tendency the excitement has a tendency to wear off. And then next thing you know, you may not be excited about it again. I need to get back to the point where I could see again, just like this guy, where I could see, where Jesus was showing me some stuff. But there's also times in my life where I know that I have to be patient, because there was times in the Bible where God didn't reveal himself for 400 years?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a long time. And then those people that were, they were in captivity for 400 and something years. I mean, you just think about thinking God's never going to come to their rescue, but he does. Yes?
Yes.
So I just wanted to bring that back up today, because I'm thinking that I need to start going more positive in some of my stories, because I have a tendency to go negative, and I live in a negative world. We live in a negative world, right? Things go up, gas prices, things break, all of a sudden you get a surprise thing, or, next thing you know, you got to drive all the way to a different town a bunch of times. And then, you're just like, you just get frustrated, and all the negative starts to wear on you. We need to get back to where we need to be. And I'm not saying it's easy, because it's not, because I'm still struggling with it myself, because some days I'm extremely happy, and then other days I'm just like, but I need to get back to where I could do the happy dance no matter what. So in my business, right, I'm trying to retire, but it just seems like everything just keeps dragging on, and things go wrong, and it's just like one thing after another, and then somebody throws it in. I thought you were going to retire last month. Knew you weren't going to do it. Like, I'm going to do it, but it just keeps dragging on, and it adds to the frustration of it.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So I need to get back to the positive, because again, don't you think if this guy could see, if you could see for the first time, don't you think you'd be extremely happy? You're not just going to be nonchalant and say, it's not as nice as I thought it was going to be.
No, you would be overwhelmed with happiness.
Overwhelmed.
Crying so much because you're happy.
Yeah. Can you imagine your first sunset? People have been talking about the sunset for years, and you ain't never seen one. Now you see one, and they're never two the same. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know it.
It'd probably be like how I was when I first moved to Austin. Katie, my life mom, she's an Austinite, and I'm from a really tiny town. We have a tree and a pasture and a church and a bar. And that's what we have in my town. So
Is the church and the bar at the same spot?
No, but they're right
be.
down the road from each other. But so whenever I got to Austin, it was my first big city live-in type of experience. And she took me to like the orchestra. So I saw Austin lit up at night on top of like a tall building. And I was like, oh my God. And I was just taken back. I thought it was so pretty and and she is like, I'm just overwhelmed, and I'm like super excited because I'm in this new place, and like the world is my oyster type
Right.
of, kind of probably like the blind man, the world is his oyster. Look at all this beautiful stuff he's seeing. And then, my life mom, Katie, she's just like, oh yeah, and I'm like taking pictures of everything, and she's like, I forget, that this is your first time. So I could imagine him being like that. And then all the people around him like, oh, okay, guy, like, it's not that big of a deal. Like, yeah, water's blue. Skies can be pink and orange sometimes, So it's kind of, I don't know. I can relate to that. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
That's how it would be.
But then, you know what? Maybe today you're sitting someplace in a dark spot. Right? Maybe you're sitting in your cell and you think it's never going to be shiny again. Right? I don't know how people live in Seattle. My mom lived in Seattle. Oh, it's God's country. Yeah, okay. Yeah. What, 5 days a year when it's sunny? Because the rest of the time when it's drizzly and rainy, I don't know how people do it. Because when it's drizzly and rainy here for a week, man, I have a tendency to go dark. Right? I'm waiting for the sun to come back out again.
You have sad. That's the thing, right? Something like about the weather, how the weather affects you. It makes you sad.
Disorder.
Seasonal associate disorder or something.
Yeah, you guys and your big words. I don't know. George just used another term today. We're going to use that.
Which one did I use?
It was the one of the happy. The
toxic
guy was extreme.
positivity.
Toxic positivity.
Yeah, it's 2 words.
Yeah.
Yes.
And as far as like seeing, like last week when we talked about the blind man and him and his negative, we had a negative spin on it. Maybe this is me being Eeyore or Grumpy Cat or whatever. But when I read those stories, I have a habit of trying to see myself in the place. So I know what I would be asking, because I know I'm not blind in that regard, but in my life, I can't help but, see, hey, this is where my attitude and heart would be if I had been in this condition for however many, I don't know if he was 30 or I don't know if it gives an age at all, if he was a young man or old man, whatever.
Well, the parents, he's of age, so whatever that
He's of
is.
age, so 18 to
Yeah.
30 to, somewhere in there. Parents still alive, so he's not ancient, but so he's lived several, he's lived a lifetime worth of being blind and knowing that, he's not the same as the others. So that's how I read it.
Yeah, and that's true because you know what? I think I do the same thing. I'll put myself in the story, and I'll put the negative spin on it where it may not.
Because I'm never going to be, oh man, blind for 30 years. I'm sure he was happy. It's a weird twist.
That is a weird twist. A weird twist. But then on the other hand, I would much rather have the positive attitude because then when it did work out, then I don't beat myself up again thinking, I wish I would have had the better attitude. I wish my faith would have been stronger. Not easy, by no means. By no means. But because most of the time, especially hunting stuff, I'll always whine and complain. And then after I get the big kill, sorry, Cam, but after I get the big kill, I'm always like, oh, I knew it was going to work out. Why didn't I handle it better at first? Right? Because I always do. But anyway, so, and then the thing about this in this story that we're going to continue just a little bit more into, is that okay?
Yeah.
I want to put my,
Oh my
I got
gosh.
new glasses, new glasses today.
Why are you changing up your glasses all the time? Like you get a different pair every podcast?
No, I don't get a different pair, but the other ones were starting to break, and I didn't want them to. Oh, sorry, Stephanie. These ones are dirty. Anyway, a little bit farther in the story. So we left it last week where he went to the pool of Siloam, and he washed, and he came back seeing. And it should say he came back seeing and excited and happy and thrilled out of his gourd.
Yeah.
Because I guarantee it, he had to have been happy. Oh, one more thing. You ever seen the commercial or you ever seen one of those TikToks or maybe a YouTube where somebody hasn't heard, like a kid, the kid hasn't heard. He hasn't heard his whole life.
Oh my gosh,
And
I
then
cry at those.
They put the little ear thing in there, and the mom starts talking, and the kid is like this, and he could hear the mom talking. They go over the dad. They go over there and give him a big hug, and the mom's tearing up.
Yeah.
And everybody is so happy. Same thing in this story.
Yeah.
Had to have been happy, but not everybody was happy for him, which is crazy. So you could be extremely excited about what God's done in your life. You can see now things are different. God's word is starting to appear differently to you. You know how when you first trust Christ, man, there's something different, right? Your sins have been forgiven. You know you get a do-over. But then here's what happens, which it happens just like this. His neighbors those who were formerly had seen him as a beggar said, "Isn't this the man who sat begging?" So right off the bat, somebody's like, that's the beggar guy, isn't it? Nobody's positive. It's not the guy's name. It's just the beggar.
Yeah.
Someone said, he's the one. No. Others were saying, but he looks like him. He kept saying, I'm the one. Right? And it has a little explanation point here. And it could have a couple. Because I could imagine the guy's like, it's me. Not just like, yeah, it's just me. It's me. No, he's probably like, it's me.
Yeah.
So Debbie and I were in an elevator in San Antonio one time, and we were at a nice hotel, and we were coming down, and we got in the elevator. We were coming down, and a guy says, "Hey, you look just like that guy." And I said, "I am that guy." And he said, "No, you look just like him." I said, "That's because it's me." "No, you look just like him." I said, "That's because it's me." And we got off the elevator, and Debbie's like, "Why do you got to do that?" I said, "I don't know, but why didn't the guy believe me?" He's like, "You look just like the guy." It's because it is me. Right? I brought this up before, but here it was. Here it is again.
The guy.
It's the guy. You look just like him. I know, because it's me, Sam Elliott.
Maybe you should have been wearing your Western gear. Then he would have believed you.
Black vest.
I probably should
Like a
have.
Quaker.
I don't know, but if the guy's telling me I look like him and I say it's me, he should say, "Oh, can I have your autograph?" But no, he didn't do that. So anyway, he kept saying, "I'm the one, right? I'm the one." He kept saying it. "I'm the one." How many times did he say it?
A lot.
A lot. "It's me. I'm the one." And then the guy says, and they answered, "That guy's annoying." Which they didn't say that. He said, he answered, "The man called Jesus made mud, spread it on my eyes, and told me to go to Siloam and wash. So when I went and washed, I received my sight." "Where is he?" they asked. "Well, I don't know," he said. "I don't know where he's at." You know, the thing about it, though, is when Christ comes into your life, this guy right here, they were questioning if it was him. So they were kind of like, "No, it's not him. It looks like him. It can't be him. There's no way it's him." No, there's always somebody got to go. They're going negative on the guy. Instead of like, "I've walked by this guy for 30 years or 10 years or 18 years. That's the guy." And then he says, "No, this is what happened to me." And I think a lot of times we need to be able to share what's happened to us. And sometimes maybe that's why we lose our focus, is because we quit sharing the gospel with other people about what God's done in our lives. And I think that's what we're doing here at this podcast, is because we know that we're not perfect, but we know we're saved by grace. We know that.
Absolutely.
So we're trying to show our weaknesses too, which, we could probably get a little bit farther into that. But we're also trying to show that we're real, but we're also trying to show you that we've been saved by grace. Something that really gets me is when people say, "Oh, you think you're a godly man." I never said that. I never say that. Or "You think you're a Christian." Yeah, I'm a Christian. There's no doubt about that. But they say, "Well, this and that." I said, "Yeah, the reason why I'm a Christian is because I need Jesus every day." It's not that I got Jesus and then all of a sudden I'm going to be perfect. No, I'm not going to be perfect, but I'm going to need him every single day. So being a Christian is not like you got it all together. It's just like now you have somewhere to turn to. Yes?
Right.
And I'm going to start turning to him in a more positive note. But I'm going to, in this, which we're going to probably just stop right there, but I want to go to another story or two. But there's always somebody telling you that you can't. And then this guy right here, did he really want to fit in? Did he want to fit in when they were saying, "It's you, it's you"? I'm not totally sure he wanted to fit in, but a lot of times we just want to fit in. And maybe that's a different podcast. Yes?
I think he just wanted to be recognized that, yes, I am the one that was blind, and stop making excuses. "Oh, it just looks like him," But no, he's bragging maybe about not bragging, but being excited about the transformation and making sure that he can hear the conversation again about, "Oh, it just looks like him. It's not him. That's why he can see." Just really, speaking to, yes, no, wait, you're thinking of the right person, and I have gone through a transformation.
So for you, George, you go through a transformation, but you were raised in a missionary family, didn't you say?
Right.
Right. So when you trusted Christ, it wasn't a surprise for your family. They were happy for your family was happy.
Yes, they were happy. I did go through a transformation, though. And I think I might have mentioned this like the first podcast that we did. But so when I was first saved, that we can get into some real sticky conversations here. I was baptized once when I was about 9 or 10. But after I went to a camp my freshman year of high school, and where there was a true transformation, and maybe it's because there were some things that weren't right, and I knew they weren't right, and I wanted to get a true relationship with God. And I learned what that was about at a summer camp, and a lot of people did directly to me tell me that they've noticed a great change, even in like just the few months that it was after the church camp, to kind of coming back, because I was always active in church. I was always active in the youth group, but that event was a big thing for me, and people noticed the change.
But that was more of a positive.
Very positive.
Very positive.
Oh yeah, nobody's like, oh, he's faking, or he's just it. Another sticky conversation you get into. Like, there's some aspects of church and youth group where it turns into like this social thing, and it's like cool to be part of the inner circle of the youth group at that church. We were too broken down and rugged for there to be a social. Either you were going or you weren't, and so it was going and being really wanting to be involved in what was going on.
Well, Kim
Yes.
Burley,
Yes.
since you are our prison expert, which you're not, but I'm just messing with you. So did you trust Christ when you were in the prison?
Not during the beginning of my incarceration. No.
No, but during your incarceration.
Yes.
Okay, so there's like when you're in prison, because we hear this, and I'm sure you've heard this before. Oh, it's just jailhouse religion. Oh, and you know what? There's a lot of people that drop Jesus off at the door when they leave. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that do that. But when you're in prison and you trust Christ as your Savior, I mean, you're in you not only have a roommate, you have 50 other people or 40 other people or 20 other people in a day room that have got their eyeballs on you. And there's always somebody saying, yeah, I don't know about that. Or that's just jailhouse religion. Or, she just trusts in Jesus while she's here. She's just, right? So there may be a lot of kind of what the blind guy went through, like, oh, that's not really him. That's, she's not going to be like, and then if you cuss, because I'm on your case about cussing, but not for
Oh
the
my
same
gosh,
reason.
on camera?
Oh, whoops. But she doesn't cuss that much. Well, yeah, she doesn't. That's funny. Sorry. I forgot where I'm at.
No,
I'm at
it's
the
fine.
podcast.
I'm not gonna cut it.
I got to be legit on this. But you say something wrong, and then everybody's, they're making the judgment call. Or, people get baptized into prison, and then they go back, and somebody makes them mad, and they cuss. Like, well, you just got baptized. So they're kind of using it as the negative. You're all excited about getting baptized, and the people in the church service are super excited, right, George? Because you've been to some of those. Those are just absolutely. Can I go to another sidebar? If you're having a baptism at your church, you need to go see how they do it in the prison system first.
Powerful.
It's because you know what? Everybody starts cheering. Nobody's like, oh. No, it's not like that at all. It's awesome.
It's hyped.
It's hyped. And then you're excited because other people are excited for you. You know what they're doing? They're doing the happy dance for you.
Happy dance.
Happy dance. They're doing the happy dance for you. And then you go back into your cell or your day room, and next thing you know, you got, is that the same person?
They're
whispering. Right, so you're going, and it seems like the negative starts so fast.
So that's a real thing. Because I experienced a lot of that, especially, well, you guys know I worked for the chaplain, and I have been incarcerated for a long time, and I have been on that specific unit that at Coleman for 9, almost 10 years. So everyone knew me. Like, I was the person who never left, I had a lot of favor with the officers, I had the favor of Joseph, I've always said. But so everyone knew me. So they knew me from the past, and then they knew my present self, or who they were saying I was pretending to be. The big discussion about me was that, oh, she's doing it right now, so, just to make it in here, but when she gets out, it's going to be different. It's not going to be the same thing. And it's not everyone, right? But there are cliques. There's like a social, there's different social norms, and so it's a different, like, it's just different. It's like
you have non-believers that are making fun of you.
Yeah, and then what's crazy is that those non-believers are the one that are going to be like, oh, I know God's got me. I got God. I'm real with him. That's why he loves me, as if I'm not being real with my faith because I've made a complete transformation. And I slipped up a couple times in my Christian walk. So one of my big stories that really made people say, "Oh yeah, she's fake," is I like to watch UFC. Okay,
UFC.
UFC.
Okay,
Nice.
cage fighting.
So yes, and so we
Wow.
had an ESPN channel, and because you have to watch UFC on the UFC channel a lot of the time, but they would do preliminary fights.
Right.
So it only came on like once a month that you could catch it on this ESPN channel. And so once a month, I did not go do anything. I stayed in the dorm and I commandeered the TV for UFC. That was it. And so there was one day it seemed like I wasn't going to get my way and watch my one show a month. And I was really upset. And then whenever I got it on, right, I finally got it on. The officer finally put it on. And I'm watching it, and people are just complaining and I can't say that word, and moaning and groaning about it. And I turned around and I was like, "Hey, can y'all shut up?" And me being who walked in my Christian walk every single day, except this one day out of the month where I let myself slip and like a crack in my character was shown, it was a complete. And then the next day while I'm serving in church, never mind that I gone to that person. I was like, "Hey, I'm so sorry I talked to you like that. I shouldn't have," or I'm in my room, asking God to forgive me and making myself right with God. Despite all that, the next day in church, it is like talk of the unit, which is crazy that it spreads like that. It was talk of the unit that I was fake and I shouldn't be in a place of being a servant or a leader because I'm held up to a higher, accountability and all this stuff. It's a thing. And so I went, and there's a lot of other stories I could say, but there's a lot of stuff that I went through where I was fake. I was fake because I was in prison and I was only going to serve God there because it gave me more, it gave me, I guess, more freedom and leniency because you kind of do. Like, there's a social status in there, and it kind of does. Like, you get a little bit more. You're not locked up in your cell because you're always working, and then you get to meet great people. And then there's other things, like you get to go serve. And so whenever you serve, you get, extra stuff, like food or whatever.
Oh,
and people,
can you bring in some pizza, please?
Yeah, and so people just assume that's what I was in it for, and it's not, because I'm gonna tell you, I was always one of the ones, and I'm not boasting, but this is my confidence and my faith is that it was never about anything other than me really trying to go into fellowship. Y'all heard my prayer earlier. That's like the biggest thing for me is fellowship. You have the fellowship, and I'm not good at that. That was my main reason for even. But, it is what it is. And I face that out here. There are so many people waiting to watch me fall. There are people who say, "Oh, I'm so proud of you," on my Facebook and stuff. But there are people who are waiting, sitting back, expecting me to fall because that's what they are used to.
Yeah.
So it is what it is.
Yeah. Just so you know,
Oh gosh.
it's going to happen to you.
I'm going to fall?
Not you. No, not fall. You're not going to fall.
Oh.
No, you might stumble a little bit like everybody else. But when you have an encounter with Christ, there's people that are going to be negative towards you.
Yeah.
It's just part of it. They were that way to Jesus, and they're going to be that way to you. So don't let it surprise you, right? When you're reading the Bible and it happens to the blind guy, it's going to happen to us.
Yeah. Well, it says it. Jesus did say, he said, they persecuted me, they're going to persecute you.
Yeah. But then the blind guy's like, "Well, how did that happen to you?" You know what? This guy put mud on my eyes, and I went to the pool, and I washed. Where is he? I have no idea. Because, people are going to ask you questions too. Well, what about this and that? Well, I have no idea. How many times have I said that to people? Well, where's that in the Bible? I don't know. Right? I don't know where it's at. I don't know. I don't know. And it's okay to say you don't know. Because you know what the guy did know? He knew what happened to him.
Yeah.
And we know what happened to us.
Yes.
And you can't take that from us.
Amen. That's right.
Yes?
Yes. I'm saying amen with confidence.
Yeah.
Yes.
So with you, George was in one scenario with his conversion, right? A lot of positive. you're in the prison system where you can't really run from people. And so you have the people, and then inmate.com, right? Like
Yeah.
you said, I mean, it gets over fast. And, but there are people that just go for the pizza. There's no doubt about it, right? And, I've been to places just for the pizza. Just happened to be Pizza Hut.
Is there
but
gonna be
whatever.
food there?
Yeah, is there going to be food there? But when I trusted Christ, my dad now, he didn't want to have anything to do with it. Don't you dare talk to me about that. Don't say that. And I'm in a construction business, so you didn't want to bring up Jesus at the construction business, which I did. But hey, quit talking about that. You can keep that to yourself. That's not for the job site. That's blah, blah, blah. Yes. But then I had a big transformation because I would say, I'm telling you, we would cuss so bad. And I say we, and if you guys watch this, you know who you are. But we would cuss so bad. We were good at what we did, but we would just, we had neighborhoods just mad at us because we would not quit cussing. Loud. And the builders would come up, and if the builder he went to the bathroom, he got a board thrown at the porta-john. And, we were not. It was fun. It seemed like it was fun, but but then when your transformation goes from that to this, there's still some question, like what? But then if it just takes a little bit of time, so now people get it.
Yeah.
Right? They realize that, that guy's not the same, and he knows he's goofed it up, and, kind of like this in a way. Just, right? I can say right a couple times.
Good for you.
You can say right as many times as you want.
Oh, I can. So what did the other guy say about his shout out last week?
Ronnie D.
Oh, he he messaged me because while I was editing, I was like videoing pieces to show him. And he was like, dang, you didn't have to call me out on my old music and my age.
Oh.
But poor Ronnie D.
2 weeks in a row.
he has the flu. He is
Oh,
so
no.
sick right now.
Oh, no.
And let me tell you, that is a workaholic. He is a hard-working, driven individual. And for him to be that sick where he can't even, he's not even watching his TikToks I've sent him. And that's
Wow.
not like him.
Wow.
So that's serious. So just, pray for Ronnie D to get better because he's been really sick this last week.
Is Ronnie trying to lose weight? Because that's a great way to do it.
No, he's always making fun of me and my other coworker. Because we're we're both trying.
Ronnie D super skinny? Nope, don't ask. All right. Let me go to another story. Okay? Because it's okay. Sorry, Ronnie D. I don't know you, and I'm never going to get to know you. Well, that's not true. Maybe I will meet you someday.
Maybe. Because I hang out with him.
Oh, okay. Well,
I hang out. We go eat food.
okay. Well, she eats rabbit food now, right?
Yes.
That's
Hey, it's working. I've lost 13 pounds.
wow. So if she gains 3 pounds next week, she's not going to tell you about it. Let me go to a different story because this story here is a little bit bizarre, thinking it's positive.
Okay.
All right. So it's an adulteress forgiven. At dawn, he went to the temple complex. Again, all the people were coming to him. He sat down and began to teach. Then the scribes and the Pharisees brought a woman in adultery, making her stand in the center, which is bizarre in itself, just because we don't live in that world now.
Right.
Teacher, they said to him, this woman was caught in the act of committing adultery. How do you know? Well, we were looking in the window.
Peeping Toms.
Yeah, we were peeping Toms. Yeah. You always wonder how they knew. Well, that's how it doesn't say that, but they you think
It's like, what translation are
What
you
is
reading? Because I don't remember that.
it's the new paraphrase. Yeah, they weren't, but obviously they caught her red-handed, so
Yeah.
something was going on. They could see. So in the Masonic or in the law of Moses commanded us to stone such a woman. If that was the case today, there'd be hardly anybody left. But not being judgmental. So what do you say?
That's real, though.
So what do you say? They asked this to trap him in order that they might have evidence to accuse him. So they really weren't caring about the lady at all. They just cared about trapping Jesus in the scenario and using somebody to do it. That could be a different lesson. I'm going to have to think about that for a minute because something's going to come to me with that because that's a whole different deal. So Jesus stooped down and started writing on the ground with his finger. Then they persisted in questioning him. He stood up and said to them, "The one without sin among you should be the first to throw a stone at her." Then he stooped down again and continued writing on the ground. Then they heard this. They left one by one, starting with the older men. Only he was left with the woman in the center. Then Jesus stood up and said to her, woman, hey, woman, where are they? No one has condemned you. No one, Lord, she answered. Neither do I condemn you. Jesus said, go and from now on and do not sin anymore. And then the story ends. How does the lady leave?
I think that she probably left just like from a real standpoint, probably broken up that her life had got her to that point, and that people were wanting to condemn her, but she probably left completely grateful and overwhelmed with, I don't know if it would be happiness, but for relief, and maybe a little bit of happiness knowing that there is someone that could tell her to go and, that she's not condemned to go and sin no more, that there might be like some kind of hope for a transformation, I guess. Being a woman who was that woman before, just to be real, I'm not going to be one of those girls that ain't going to lay it out there, I was not a very good woman. I was that woman. And,
You had 6 husbands? Oh,
well,
no, it was 5 husbands.
They weren't husbands.
Oh.
That's the thing,
Yeah.
I think that is probably worse.
Yeah.
And you're just have no self-worth and everything. You just kind of throw it around out there.
Okay, so in this case, let's say, because Jesus did come.
He came.
He came, and he says, look, I'm going to give you a do-over. Don't sin anymore, which is probably might just saying, hey, let's knock this off.
Yeah.
Right? There's a different way you're forgiven. So how does that make you feel?
Let me tell you.
You can go 2 ways. You can go negative.
Yeah.
Which a lot of times we do. We can go negative like, did that really happen? I'm not really forgiven. How many times in the prison system, I can't forgive myself. This lady right here, if I go negative, she never could forgive herself. Yeah. She knows that Jesus forgave her. I don't condemn you, but she could wind up condemning herself.
Okay, so that's a real thing. So I kind of went through the negative and the positive. Like when I first started like my own personal journey of like self-healing, after I came to Christ and I knew that I had to deal with myself, I carried a lot of shame and filthiness, like thoughts towards myself, because like you start thinking about it all and you're like, I cannot believe I did that, like, oh my gosh. And I carried a lot of shame and guilt and just filth. I just felt dirty. But now, like, I don't think that about myself because I am not that person at all. Like, not even close. Like, I wish somebody would. Type of stuff.
Throat punch coming back.
Like, I just value myself, like, as a woman and as a human being. And, like, my body is, like, my temple type of mindset. And I'm just not going to give it freely to anyone, because I know that my life and myself is precious.
If you've been in one of my classes, what she's saying is she's not going to give it to anybody just because they're taking her to Taco Bell.
Yeah, no.
Or saying that her hair smells nice, just so you know.
Look, I'm going to let you're trying to take me to like the Four Seasons for lunch or something, just for the lunch. Like, we're not doing that either. You're not getting it then either.
The Four Seasons?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. That's like a bougie place, right?
It's bougie? Okay.
Is it not?
I have no idea.
Yes, the Four
Seasons. It's bougie.
Yeah.
I had lunch at a Four Seasons, and I was told it was bougie.
No,
okay.
It's very. Yeah.
Oh, super bougie. Sorry to interrupt.
Super bougie. Anyways, I don't care. We're missing the point. Even if it's that, like where I'm at now in the positive side of it, like I know that I have a lot more value than just that. And I'm not about to let my identity as that woman be what rules my life, because I have the identity of the woman after she wasn't condemned.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
I think a key word is dignity. I think Jesus kind of restored her dignity.
Yes.
Because she probably got into it at some point, and it was at one point it was a new sin or whatever, and by saying the number 5 or however many, it's just showing she embraced the pattern that she was in. And she probably had resigned herself to being, this is me, this is who I am. Even to the point when she was about to get stoned, it's like, and that's the way I'm going to die too. And the big mystery is, what was he writing in the sand, you know? And there's lots of, I think it's just guesswork. I don't think any of the ancient translated Aramaic or whichever language we're in here, Hebrew, I don't think it ever clarifies exactly or even gives us clues. But what was it? Was he writing the names of the people that these other people had affairs with? We don't know. We have no idea. You know, it's all guesswork at that. But whatever it was in the situation, one, they hung their heads in shame, and apparently their dignity was kind of knocked, taken down a notch. But it seems like he restored her dignity and her humanity in that moment to say, hey, you don't have to live that way. And she probably was embracing this is literally who I am.
But she still could have had unforgiveness in her own gig.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sure.
There's no
For
doubt about
sure.
it. You know what I like to think? And of course I'm probably wrong, but maybe not. What I like to think is, because I never thought about that, he was writing what they have done, like, wow. But then again, is Jesus keeping a record of wrongs? Maybe he was for them. So, but for me, I would like to look at it like Jesus was writing in the sand for her. You're amazing.
You're amazing.
Incredible.
Beautiful.
You're worth it. You're beautiful. You're more than this.
Yeah.
You're just absolutely beautiful. Just saying like nothing but positive stuff to somebody who is fixing to get stoned, somebody who's been treated like bad, somebody who's just, looking for what she finally got, what she was looking for when Jesus was there. And it wasn't physical contact. It was real love. Yes.
That's beautiful.
So maybe Jesus is writing like, I love you. And she wasn't taking it like, well, you're number 6, but she knew that he was, that he meant it. Right. There's something about that. So again, when she walks off, maybe she walks off in amazement,
Yeah.
or maybe she walks off doing the happy dance.
Yeah.
Dance.
Yeah.
Huh?
Happy
Maybe
dance.
she does. Maybe she walks off, with a skip, with a little extra swagger, knowing that she had just been forgiven, or she doesn't have to live that way anymore, that life is different. And I so like, I could go to the negative stuff in this too, but it's so cool to go to the positive, because when it's positive, it's refreshing.
Yeah.
And then, you know what, whoever you are, guys, girls, whatever, man, you've been, having an affair with your wife or your girlfriend, and you're married, or you're in the prison system with your girlfriend or your boyfriend, right? Because that's happening.
Yeah.
But I think the reason why we do some of that is because we're missing Christ, and God can save you from that, and He can write in the sand and tell you how incredible you are, and He's just like, man, just don't sin anymore, because what sin does in my life, it separates me from. It has a tendency to separate me spiritually from the Lord. Not that He's left me, but there's something that's changed. Yes?
Yes.
So I think that she left there either skipping, hopping, happy dance, or just extremely excited or thrilled.
Yeah.
But sometimes Jesus will forgive us and you'll still hold on to it. But it never says. Maybe she held on to it for a while, and then she realized, no, I need to let that go. Right? Because if Jesus isn't condemning you, I've said this 100 times, if I hadn't said it 1,000 times. If Jesus isn't condemning you, why are you condemning you? Yes?
Yes.
Anyway, so He's not condemning you. So, man, let's walk away doing the happy dance. One more story?
Yeah. Whatever you got going on.
Well, I know, but we can all. I think I got one more. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. Maybe I didn't write it down.
What? You didn't take notes?
Thought I had it in a card somewhere. Anyway, I know the story. How's that? I know the story. So there was a lady who had been bleeding for 12 years. Right? She's been bleeding for 12 years. So obviously she's had some issues. And she's went to all sorts of doctors, and she's went all sorts of places to get to look at her, for bleeding problem, and nobody could figure it out. And then Jesus comes through town, and she crawls through, or she goes and touches his tassels on his robe, and Jesus feels the power come out of him, and she gets healed. And then he calls her out in front of everybody. And then I'm thinking, this lady had 12 years. She had this issue, a health issue, a bleeding issue. And back in those days, when you were bleeding, you couldn't get around anybody because you were unclean, and you had all these rituals to do and this and that. So she was a loner, and she still had the faith that something was going to happen in her life, that it was going to be positive, even after 12 years. I wonder if she wanted just to give up. How many times do we want to give up? Right? How many times do we want to say, but 12 years, she just kept on going. She must have had the faith that one day it was going to be okay. Otherwise, she may not have. She would have given up. So she has the faith that it's going to happen. Then all of a sudden the Messiah shows up. She knows that if she could just touch the hem of his clothes, she would be healed. And then so she doesn't care who's around because she's still bleeding, right? Or I guess it's like do I even say? Yeah, I don't want to say it.
I think we get it.
I know, you get it, right? You get it. It's like once a month. The symptom was all the time. I don't know. So, but she goes and touches Jesus, and she doesn't care who's around. She didn't care what anybody else thought. She just wanted to be healed so bad. But I'm sure she had to have the faith that it was going to happen after 12 years.
Yes.
And look, Kim, she was in prison for 12 years. You got to have some faith that after 12 years is going to be okay. Things are going to be different. Some of you girls have been in prison 2 years, 1 year, a year and a half, 12 years, 15 years, 20 years. Some of you guys have been in prison for a long time. You got to have the faith that God can make something happen. He can make it happen. Do not lose hope.
That's right.
It's so true, right?
It's right.
Because then when so how does this lady feel when she gets healed? I mean, Jesus kind of calls her out and said, "Who touched me?" And then how does she feel when she runs off or when she walks off?
Oh, I bet she was let me tell you, I bet she was overwhelmed with joy for sure that issue was gone. But, in that scripture, it says that he felt the power leave him. How did she feel? So she did not only feel like her own personal thing, but she felt the power of Christ within her.
Yeah.
That's what she felt. That is an amazing...
Yeah.
I can't even imagine what that would be like.
Let me cut you off for a second. Because you know what? She never would have had that feeling if she would have gave up.
That's right.
If she would have never gave up, she would have never had that feeling of touching and the power of the Lord healing her. And you know what? At year 11, did she think it was going to happen? She may have. I'm thinking, no, she didn't think it was never going to happen. But you know what? Maybe she did. Maybe she had the faith that one day she was going to be healed. And then so she kept the faith. And sometimes it takes a while. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good.
But I just wanted to throw that little,
But it does take a while.
But
You're
sometimes it does take a while. You know what? We live in the United States. I mean,
yeah.
if I'm not getting my burger fast enough, I'm starting to whine. Hey, I thought this was fast food. I've been looking here for 45 seconds and I don't have my burger yet. Right? And then this lady here, or some of these people that we're talking about, it's been years and years and years and years. And then Jesus shows up on the scene and says, boom.
Boom.
Boom. I guarantee you, she went away. Does she go away happier than the blind guy? Does she go Does she leave happier than the lady?
I guess
who'd
it's
just
who
been
you're
committed?
asking. If you're asking a woman, then heck yeah, she did.
Okay. If you're asking a woman, maybe so. But if you're asking a guy, you don't really know.
You don't know, I guess.
It's probably different, but they're probably still all going away extremely happy. Never forget it. And I have a tendency to forget stuff too fast. God's doing stuff in my life, I forget it.
That's right. Me too.
So that's what I have today.
Well, I think that was a good message.
Just got to go. I got to start going a little bit more positive.
Well, I like that because, I've also been feeling like that about my life. Because, like I was telling you before, like, I prayed for this life I have. And so, like, these little inconveniences, that's what I'm going to call it, little inconveniences, they're necessary. Otherwise, how am I going to learn from? I mean, if everything's great, I'm never going to learn anything. And I am still in the process of learning. I've never worked on finances and managed accounts and stocks and this and that and making, I never paid rent, like I never did any of that. Turning on my electric, all that stuff is brand new to me. I never did it. I never did. I couch surfed a lot of my younger life. And then whenever I did live in places where I didn't have to do it. Anyway, so I'm learning, so like these little inconveniences that happen in life or these like little things that we think are so bad, they're just little minor setbacks to something bigger and better. But I prayed for this life, like I prayed to have my own place, to have my own space, to have my own shelter that I can fill with God and that I could do my worshiping, in our quiet place. I got that. I wanted a good job. I got that. I wanted a college education. I'm getting that, and very well, might I say. I'm killing it. And I'm just
I'm killing it, by the way.
I'm just saying, I'm going to
should.
toot my, I have a 4.0 and I'm almost 3 years in.
Beep, beep.
Yeah, Jesus did that because I had nothing, So this life that I have, I prayed for it. And then I catch myself getting in these negative headspaces about myself. Like the other day, like a couple weeks ago, I was telling George, like, I just feel like I'm a prettied up piece of trash. Boo-hoo, woe is me. I'm an imposter. But how am I? Because I prayed for this life. And it took God 12 years, just like that woman. But I got it, and I have it 2 years. Almost, I guess I'm working on my 3rd year, but only not even 3 years out of prison. Not even 2.5 years out of prison.
It's good.
It's
amazing.
Yeah, no, I know.
So, like, God's in the waiting season, But so, yeah, you're right. Like, we have to make ourselves be more positive about the things that God gives us. Even if it's like, oh, I got running water. Oh, I have food in the fridge. Oh, I have a really nice house that, me and my kids can sleep under. I have amazing enclosures for my little babies at home, my little animals, Like my daughter, I didn't raise her. I'm going to be real transparent. I didn't raise her, but the people who did, her grandparents, have done an amazing job, and she's an amazing 17-year-old kid, and she is right now at a church camp, and she has good morals and values, and she's an amazing person, and I'm grateful for that. I didn't raise her, but, it's positive because, I miss her. I want her in my life, but you know what? She's so taken care of.
There's a lot of positive.
So much. There's so much. You just have to find it in the situation.
George, you've been quiet tonight.
You can what? Do the happy dance? All right. So I like to give a little lesson while I do the song. It's been a rough 2 weeks. And one of the things I often mention when I'm leading worship at the prisons is so many of these songs, it's almost like you feel like a liar when you're singing the words, because you're like singing about hope when you're in a moment of hopelessness and desperation, and singing about victory when you feel like you've totally lost. But that kind of is the message of hope, and the lesson of hope is that we're singing it because all in all we do believe that eventually the storm will pass, or the situation will finally end however it's supposed to end, and we'll have peace in that. So this song is kind of about that as well, directly, called I Will Wait For You, based on Psalm 30. Out of the depths I cry to you. In darkest places I will call. Incline your ear to me anew, and hear my cry for mercy, Lord. Were you to count my sinful ways, how could I come before your throne? Yet full forgiveness meets my gaze, and stand redeemed by grace alone. I will wait for you, I will wait for you. On your word I will rely. I will wait for you, surely wait for you, till my soul is satisfied. So put my hope in God alone. Take courage in His power to save, completely and forever won by Christ emerging from the grave. And I will wait for you, I will wait for you. On your word I will rely. I will wait for you, surely wait for you, till my soul is satisfied. Now He has come to make a way, and God Himself has paid the price, that all who trust in Him today find healing in His sacrifice. That all who trust in Him today find healing in His sacrifice. And I will wait for you, I will wait for you. On your word I will rely. I will wait for you, surely wait for you, till my soul is satisfied. And I will wait for you, I will wait for you, through the storm and through the night. I will wait for you, surely wait for you, for your love is my delight. And I will wait for you, I will wait for you, through the storm and through the night. I will wait for you, surely wait for you, for your love is my delight. And that's that song. Thank you, thank you.
So good.
Thanks, seemed appropriate.
You got any final words, George?
No matter how defeated and beat up you feel, you continue to run the race and fight the good fight. And even if we feel hopeless, if we put our hope in Christ, He will bring the peace that we are seeking. And that's all I got.
Okay.
It's true. What he said.
Ditto?
Ditto. You know, don't give up. No matter what the setbacks are, the inconveniences, life gets better on the other end, but you have to run your race. You have to have your faith. Sometimes you have to wait, but don't give up.
It's
Pray
true.
for what lessons are in the middle of it.
Okay, so whatever you're going through, I suggest you get up and do the happy dance.
Happy dance. Happy dance.
Do the happy dance. As tough as it is, sometimes maybe you just do the happy dance and all of a sudden you become happy again.
Yeah.
And I know it's not always about being happy, but I want to go through this world more positive than negative. So no matter if you're in a negative situation, you could still be positive, because I think when we're in a negative situation, we're positive. That's when we show the love of Christ more.
Yeah.
It just does. So anyway, that's a wrap. Good night. Goodbye. See you next week.